We're digging here next to the conduit for the electric meter. There's no wire into this yet, but that conduit is right on top of the sewer line, so we're digging down there basically to get to the bottom of the sewer line to measure our invert into our tank, which is going to be down the hill a ways. So the idea is we measure the invert of the line up here and the invert at the tank on the inlet, and we try to maintain about a 1/4 inch fall per foot between where this line will connect and where the tank is. And since gravel is so expensive, we kind of pushed the gravel back a little bit here where we're going to dig this out. And the excess dirt we're putting in the dump truck and dumping down in a different place, just so we don't have a big mess here in front of the cabin. And today I have some help. My nephew and his wife came up from New Mexico to help me out here a little bit on installing this tank. The rest of the family was busy doing other things, so it worked out really well for me. And thank them a lot for coming up and giving me a hand on this. So that sewer line coming out of the foundation wasn't too far underneath that electrical conduit, and gives us a place to measure the bottom of the pipe there, and that'll make it easy for us to get the tank set at the right elevation down below. Down here where I excavated with that link belt 135 earlier, I didn't really know exactly where I wanted to put that tank, and so I was off just a little bit, so we decided to go uphill just a little bit from that original excavation and set the tank a little bit closer to the house, and it's going to work out pretty good there. We'll get it down to the right elevation and compact the bottom of it and get our tank set in there. Having some afternoon thunderstorms roll through, and rather than saturate the areas where the tank's going to sit and saturate up there where we exposed that sewer line, we just took some plastic out and covered them. Just east of the cabin, just above my little John Deere crawler where I split my firewood, there's an area here we wanted to kind of fill and bring up a little closer to the level of the cabin compound. We built a bit of a water slide up here by the house, just where the water rolls off the roof of that cabin. It'll hit down here and just keep going downhill, and it worked really well. It kept the water from filling up that little trench we have up here by the house. My nephew rigged up a strap on the tank so we could just drag it out from underneath that porch, get it out here in the driveway where we can take it down and put that thing in the hole. He brought up his little pup supervisor to make sure we do this all right. I left mine at home this time. I just didn't have room in the truck with all the stuff I was bringing up. Kind of got to be careful working in underneath the shed roof and between the posts that are supporting that shed roof, that we don't accidentally hit them. That plastic tank isn't all that heavy, it's just bulky, and for two guys with bad backs, we need to use the equipment to move it. So on the lower end of where this tank's going to sit, it was a little over excavated and going to require some lifts, compacted lifts, to bring it up to the grade that we need it. And we probably wouldn't have to do that right now because it's just slightly beyond the edge of the tank, but that's also got to support the effluent pipe that's coming out of that tank, and we don't want any settling there. We took our little compactor and compacted where the tank is going to sit as well, and then try to level it up with some loose dirt to set the tank in there nice and level. A lot of handwork here, but we're doing pretty good with it. It didn't turn out too bad. We try to rake this in and get it pretty much as level as we can before we start the compactor, and it just makes it easier to move around with the compactor since that's a handheld job. It's not like we can put that on the end of the excavator and use it like that. These things are all manpower. I'm having a few issues with my old compactor. It's leaking gas trying to flood the engine out, so we'll do a little compacting with the bucket a little bit there, and then as soon as I get this running, then we'll compact over that. When I originally excavated this with that 135 link belt excavator, I over excavated this hole there on the far end, and it was probably a good thing that I decided to move this tank up a little bit so that I didn't over excavate all of it. But right here where the effluent pipe comes out of the tank, this whole area is going to have to be brought up in lifts and compacted, just so that we have no settlement there. We don't want the pipe to break. Now with this lower end open, we're not going to bury that part of the tank yet. The fact is I have to put a carburetor kit in that compactor, and so I'll get that done, and then we'll bring that lower end up in lifts and compact it all the way up to the pipe, and then bury the rest of this lower end. And I'll put a little ditch down the driveway there since it's a grade downhill. I'll just put a ditch in there so that if it rains real hard, it won't fill that ditch completely up and float the tank. We'll bury the tank enough that it'll hold it down pretty much anyway. But we don't want that tank floating. It'll cause a lot of issues. It was all said and done. We got the tank in there absolutely level and ready to bring up the outlet side of the tank in lifts. Once the compactor is repaired, we'll do that and get her buttoned up for the winter.